Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience.
Are your eBay sales struggling? Maybe your listings have been up for a while with no sales. OptiSeller are the data optimization experts with the tools you need to control, manage, and monitor your online store performance. Their powerful tools will drive your listing visibility, conversion, and ultimately help you sell more online. So what are you waiting for? Go to get.optiseller.com/pod and use the code podcast30 to get 30% off the plan of your choice. That's get.optiseller.com/pod. And remember to use the promo code podcast30 to get 30% off of any plan.
Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, Sean Tepper, who is the founder and CEO of Tykr, which is a B2C SaaS company that helps you manage your own investments. Welcome to the podcast, Sean.
Arlen, good to be here.
Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. We're going to be kind of talking about some areas that I haven't really focused on too much before with regards to creating your product or service offering by getting assistance and collaborating with customers and prospects. It's something that I know a lot of SaaS companies do. I'm familiar with SaaS companies, so SaaS e-commerce companies, as my audience knows, with OSI affiliate software. We've definitely worked a lot with our customers to create our product that we have today. And you're going to kind of tell us about how that works, why it's a good thing. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Sure. So my background is software engineering, primarily project management, and goes back to about 2006. Got out of school, worked for an agency for about a year, learned the tricks of the trade, if you will, like around software engineering and building websites and really just doing a lot of work for small and mid-sized businesses. And I built that business with a great group of other associates over the course of like 5 years, went through a merger in 2010. And at that point, I knew like what kind of business I wanted to start. Fortunately, with that first business, learned a lot. On the unfortunate side, it was not a lucrative operation by any means. This was an agency service business model, not scalable.
Gotcha.
But we were exposed to a few hundred businesses, and I kind of knew like, okay, the type of business I want to create is a SaaS. SaaS businesses are highly scalable, and I didn't have an idea at the time. So I just started working in corporate jobs, project management and software engineering for the last 10 years. But what I did around that same time, 2010, 2011, is I got into investing. I started with angel investing, which is essentially investing in private businesses with the hopes that you get in early with some business, takes off to the moon, and next thing you can retire. Well, I could say this, it's a lot easier said than done. So that never happened. And I learned a lot about investing, but I knew like if I want to get serious about investing, it's about consistency. So around 2015, I turned my attention to the stock market. And that's where I really started to research the guys that we know, like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, another gentleman out there, Phil Town, and really put together the math behind investing. And just to take a step back, I knew that these guys were making consistent returns in the market that were beating the market consistently is the key. And I knew they're not doing this based off emotions. They're not gambling. They're not guessing, right? Not getting involved with the GameStops and the AMCs of the world, meme stocks. So how do they do that, right? And that's when I sought after to figure out the math behind investing. So I started creating an Excel sheet, if you will. It wasn't glamorous, but putting together the equations on how do you analyze stocks. Mm-hmm. And thanks to these guys, including Phil Town, I got to give a shout out to him. I was able to put together something that works. And I generated consistent returns between 15 and 50% per year, which, if you don't already know, good returns in the market are usually between 8 and 10%. So it's consistently beating the market. Knew I had something. And I started talking to people, retail investors as well as institutions, asked, hey, would you use a tool like this if I turned it into a software? And the common response was, absolutely. When does this go live? So yeah, started building the software in 2019, took about a year to build the MVP, and went live in 2020. And now bringing us to today, we did launch a new version this last summer, and today we have a little over 3,000 customers. So
wow,
brings us to the present.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's quite a story. That's quite growth that you guys have had in, quite a bit of growth that you've had in a short amount of time. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Kudos to you guys for, definitely putting something out there that, there definitely is a market for it. And so I think that's clear to see that, it's not like you put it out there and you're just kind of, scratching yourself, waiting for customers to come. There's a demand there. And
for sure. Yeah.
Good to know. Now, as I mentioned, one of the things that you mentioned is that you got some feedback before even kind of really getting in there, diving deep into it. And, with e-commerce businesses, whether you're a SaaS company, whether you're a product company, I think a lot of times, especially for startup companies, a lot of times founders are so passionate about what they've developed, whether it's a product that they're selling, a tangible product, whether it's an online software SaaS solution, very passionate about it. And a lot of times that passion can kind of, I guess you could say, distract them from, really focusing in on, is there really a market for it? Because they think, okay, this is great. This is awesome. I know I would use it. Why wouldn't the world want to use it?
Right. Of course.
Yeah, so people have that mindset. And, unfortunately, people a lot of times go down the route where they get it out there. There's really no market, and they end up, closing shop and, end up spending a lot of marketing dollars trying to market it, but they don't really get their return on it. So, what would you say are some proper ways to, in which you can really empower customers, or maybe even not even customers, prospective customers that are just kind of in your list, your network, how do you empower them to help you create the right product that you want to put out to market?
Yeah, this is a hot topic. And to give you context, I was that guy building the product. This is the product that people want. I want it, therefore everybody else wants it. Right. I'm going to spend a bunch of time and money on this because I've had other ventures in the past that I've moved forward with, and you launch and it's crickets. Why can't I get any customers? What's going on? They're the ones that are wrong. I'm right. And it's actually the opposites. And what I find is, and after studying how people actually execute SaaS businesses, I'm sure this can be applied to e-commerce if you're selling a physical product as well, but you want to put in the minimum amount of time and money into creating something that people want, just at a high level. Because all you really need to do is I think of it like a ballpark, like get in the ballpark. You don't have to be like in the dead center though, or like a bullseye, just get on the map. And then what you want to do is, this is what I did, and this is what I learned from other businesses before me, get your product out there for free as much as possible. You want to get as many people using it, and you want to be engaging in conversations, not once a month. We're talking every week. Get the feedback. What do you like? What don't you like? Again, MVP, minimum investment, get it out there, and you just start compiling the the features they like, the features they don't like, what do they want added, and that's what you focus on. It allows you to pretty much get a laser focus on what your product should be. And I tell you this, the product you want is usually completely opposite what the customers want.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I definitely know that feeling. Yeah.
Yep.
And you kind of have an idea of really what's ideal. And it may be ideal for your needs, but it's a lot of times it's not right for everyone's.
Right. Yeah. And just to add a little to that, you've got an idea, let's say, and it can solve a problem. You don't have to be 100% right. You have to be, again, in that ballpark, but the key thing isn't how right you are, it's your communication with the customer and getting the right customers, because they are the ones that are going to guide you to the center of that bullseye. And it just takes time and feedback. And if you can do it right, if you're a good communicator and you take good notes, ask good questions, you can get there. But you really, honestly, you put the hard work on them. It's actually easier than entrepreneurs think.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I totally agree with that stance of, creating the minimum viable product, getting it out there, whether it's a service offering or whether it's it's a tangible product, even in the world of consumable goods, direct to consumer products, even if it's a food item, whatever it is.
Exactly.
You got to get that feedback. But I think a lot of times the hesitation from, a lot of business owners is that they're like, this is great, I'm going to get it out there. And they're thinking they could be kind of undercutting potential sales by just getting it out there for free. They're thinking, I'm losing out. I can't just give it out there for free.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a lot of the hesitation people have, but it's not the case.
I am talking to entrepreneurs every week, and there's this sense of pride that needs to be removed, because it's not about you anymore. It's not about revenue. It's not about cash. It is all about the customer and solving their problem. And I tell people this, and their knee-jerk reaction is no when I say this. But if you get a SaaS product, try to get 100 free licenses, 100 free subscriptions out there as fast as possible. They're like, are you kidding me? I give away 5 or 10 and at most. I'm like, no. And if you can go more, but and we're talking over the duration of 3 to 6 months. And people don't like to hear that too. They're like, so I got to go another 6 months without making money? I'm like, buckle up, sweetheart. You're in for a ride.
Right.
There's a lot of work to do here you don't know about.
Definitely. Makes sense. Yeah, because I could see with 100 free licenses out there, just the amount of feedback that you could get from that. And if they're using it consistently, and the thing is, it's really kind of all about numbers, and I think you're saying 100 because, you could get 100 licenses out there, but out of those 100, realistically, okay, how many of those 100 are really actually going to use it? So that's why I see you do have to shoot high. You do, because you look at the numbers, if you can get 100 out there, you're really going to get good feedback from maybe 10 to 15, maybe 20% at best. That's just the way it goes. They're going to be highly engaged, and you're going to see the consistent feedback within that small percentage, but that's the way it is. And let's say you aim higher, you go for 200. I mean, if you can get a wider net casted, there's more people you can talk to. And fortunately, with a SaaS business, you're not manufacturing a product, so it's a little easier to get out there. It's just really server bandwidth they're consuming, which is next to nothing these days. But I get it. If you're an e-commerce product, you've got some investment to do. You got to spend money in the product, get it out there. But if you can consistently get the right feedback and create the product exactly what people are looking for, that's when you forget about that 100 or 200, because you start getting into thousands of customers, and that's where your growth really starts happening. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Now, let's say, someone listening is, they have an idea of a product, they want to get it out there, and they're like, everything makes sense. I got to get it in the hands of people. I don't want to develop too much of it before,
Right.
I don't want to go down, one road, spend too much money if it's not the right fit. So a question I know a lot of people are wondering is, okay, to get these free licenses out there or free product out there, how am I selecting these people to get it out to? Am I buying a list? Let's say I'm
No.
fresh out of the gate. I have no customers at all. I don't have too many contacts. What's the best strategy to pick the right people to get it out to?
Fortunately, if you're passionate about what you want to create, you probably have a few people in mind already, maybe some friends, family. It's pretty easy to get a network, and that's I never recommend buying a list. I never.
Okay.
You want authentic, true customers coming to you organically, or if you do advertising, it's really targeted. But in my case with Tykr, retail investing is growing super fast. So I already had friends that, they'd create like a Robinhood TD Ameritrade or E-Trade account. It's like, hey, check this out. So that's pretty easy. Now, to touch on that, creating an MVP, you can do that in multiple ways. You could literally create mock-up designs in like Photoshop or some other design platform to simulate what it would be, and you could start there. But then there's also no-code type platforms where you can get like 50 to 75% of the way there, like an idea, and that way people can actually use the tool. That's going to be a little better than designs, because designs can be subjective on the spot, like if you present them to somebody. But if they can use a tool, otherwise you got to go to the point where custom coding is involved and there's an expense there. So, right, there's different levels, in other words.
Sure. Yeah. And fortunately, these days, there's a lot of ways you can create mock-ups, and it's, I've been approached by people, I've been in the business a long time. And so I've talked to a lot of kind of budding entrepreneurs that have got these great ideas, and they're a lot of times I see that they're itching to really just kind of develop it, get it out there. But yeah, I always try to rein them back, tell them, wait, even if you can just put together just something basic, whether you use one of these no-code platforms that simulates what you're doing, doesn't actually have any coding in the background or anything like that, but maybe simulate stepping people through a process or something like that. Do that rather than to spend that money. I've seen a lot of examples of people that have a ton of cash and it didn't pay off.
We're talking 6 figures, sometimes 7 figures sunk cost into something they believe is going to change the world, and next thing you know, the business is closing up. And you did hit on a point there. It is a step back. You have to move slow and methodical in the beginning. You have to ask those questions and get the right feedback. And it's going to be a slow process. You have to set those expectations. The real speed comes when you know what customers want. They're ready to put their credit card in your system, right, and start spending. That's when you're like, it's go time. Let's do this. Let's put it together for real. It just takes time to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we talked about, getting these people in your network, whether it's friends or it's family or it's people within your social network. You're tapping these people. You're trying to get at least 100 people, get their hands on the product, get their hands on what it is that you've created initially, and to get it out there. Now, once you've done that, what are some tools or resources that you recommend for getting their feedback and kind of compiling that and just keeping it in an organized fashion? Was it something that you use or that you recommended?
Yeah, so we use Airtable. It's a great platform where you can create surveys and forms, and then you can compile the data in like an Excel type format. You can export Excel. We find it to be a brilliant platform. I think there's a free option for that as well. You could also a project management software like Asana or Trello, might be good options. They don't have forms or anything, but you can organize the information in a nice way. But Airtable, I'd say, is number one.
Okay, great. Yeah, I am familiar with Airtable. I've used that before. Yeah, really easy to use solution. I know, because I know a lot of people that may not be comfortable with Excel or even with Google Sheets, and kind of setting up the different things that you can do with the cells and the table and all of that. It's really easy with Airtable. Yeah, it's just kind of like a point and click and drag and drop type of thing. So yeah,
you got it.
Good idea. And I take it that it's really a good idea to get that in place beforehand, because you want to make it, the bottom line is these people that are using the product for free, they're going out of their way, they're taking their time, they maybe they're for your friends or your colleagues. You want to make it super simple for them to provide feedback. And even if they're not directly providing feedback via these forms. If you have somebody calling them, like you said, on a weekly basis, somebody on your team needs a simple way of taking that information over the phone and then, inputting it in there. So, you don't have, any wasted time. You want to make sure you capture everything. So I know that's very important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just to touch on that with questions, there's an art to the questions you ask, whether it's in a call like this. And I actually, the surveys work well, but if you can get people in Zoom calls, that's even better, right?
Sure.
Really get there and tell them up front, be brutally honest. Don't try to make my feelings feel better. Like, I want to know, like, what am I doing right, wrong? And there's a good book out there called The Mom Test. Okay. And that book teaches you to ask questions that are not what would they want, but what kind of tools are they using today and why? Like, why are they going back to it over and over? And if you can frame questions more on what they're using today, not because when you get them in a mindset like of creation mode, they're going to kind of create subjective feelings and kind of lean to what you're doing. But you ask questions on what they're using and why. That's when you can kind of implement into your tool a little better, especially if it's in the same niche product, like people who use investing tools. I would say, why are you using the investing tool? Why are you using this feature? What do you like about it? Is it easy to use? Is it sticky? Does it make you come back? Stuff like that. So, like, okay, I know I need to do that in my tool, right?
I see. Yeah, I like that. That really can capture, because that these are tools that they're probably already paying for. There's certain features that they like, that they don't like. And I think that's a great way to get really some ideal feedback. So, really kind of what direction that you should go. Great advice there. One of the things that I was also, wondering with regards to, this feedback and all of this information that you're gathering. I think you mentioned it earlier, but I want to kind of circle back on it and clarify. Is there like a set time period where you need to kind of go through this process of getting this information? What did you do, or what would you recommend? A certain amount of months, or, because I know you're going to have to give it some time. What would you recommend?
Yeah, to set expectations, I'd say a minimum of 3 months, and you can go definitely 6 months or longer. And to be honest with you, our tool is still, like, we've got traction, but we are still evolving and still continuously getting customer feedback. And we've been live now for a year and a half. That's just the way it is. But to set expectations, SaaS businesses, it can be 3 years before they really start getting some serious traction. And that whole time is really, if you do it right, it can be feedback, but you can shorten that timeline if you can get feedback fast and then develop those features fast.
Yeah, that's really key. Getting that feedback and then developing it and just getting it out to the market as soon as you can. Right. Yeah, one thing I was thinking about when we were talking about, finding people to get the product out there to test it out before you get the feedback from. A lot of times people, can be a little bit leery. They may not necessarily want to approach, people in their network. They're like, I don't want to just keep asking them. Maybe they leaned on them before with other business ideas, and they're like, oh, okay, what do I do? One thing that I want to kind of throw out there, and I'm not sure if this is something you may have thought about. There are a lot of sites out there, as far as, let's say this is for a SaaS product, actually, where you can actually pay a third-party person to kind of go through it and give feedback. One such site that I've heard of, and that we've actually in our company I've thought about using at one point, is called user testing. It's called usertesting.com. And then with what you can do, they have a network of people that basically they go through, and they either go through a website online, they go through a product online, and then they record their whole process, and the whole system records it for you. And while they're going through it, they're kind of speaking, saying, okay, I'm confused about this. I don't like this color. They give you all of that real-time feedback in a recorded little session. And something like that is another great way, I think, to get feedback from just totally, anonymous third parties that don't know you. They're not familiar with maybe your product or anything like that. So that's another idea. If you want to kind of pull from another resource.
Here's my thoughts on that. We haven't hired anybody like that, but I know hiring that type of resource is really good for functional beta testing, which means they're going to test the usability, user friendliness. If buttons aren't in the right place or features are just hard to use, awesome. But you're going to get more of an emotional feedback, which is what you want if you can reach out to people. And you're right, because you don't want to be that guy. I think of like MLM sellers. Okay, I'm going to sell to my friends and family. Immediate knee-jerk reaction is get away from me, right? So I found is you kind of like, you should probably connect with people on LinkedIn, join a group on LinkedIn. I'm part of a few investing groups there. Same with Facebook. That's where you get like-minded people that are passionate about your product, and that you can start reaching out to them there. I'm seeing more Slack groups start up, but these are people who are passionate about your product. And when you ask them to test, they actually feel special about it. Like, I'm going to be a contributor. I'm going to be a product owner per se in creating this awesome tool that you're working on. And I get to do it for free. They should be honored to feel that way. And we make our customers feel like rock stars. And when they come back with feedback, we always tell them awesome feedback. And we're giving you credit for this. Like keep up the great work. So that kind of dialogue, like, you create passionate people, and that's what you want. Because you really want to create awesome sticky features, not just a usable platform that's got very few bugs.
I understand. Yeah. So it'd be a little bit better to be a little bit more targeted people kind of in your, kind of ecosystem. But if they're not in your ecosystem, reaching out to people that you think maybe, I guess, like-minded to want to use something like that. And you just, maybe LinkedIn groups, like you said, or, some other Facebook groups, stuff like that. So, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, Sean, as we get ready to wrap things up, are there any examples of any businesses that you're familiar with that have really kind of gone through this process to tap outside people or their customers to create a product or service, and what exactly do they do?
Yeah, so one that comes to mind is MailChimp. I actually listened to their story. They were just bought by Intuit for several $1 billion. Nice acquisition there. And this was a bootstrap business. They did not have venture capital where they're throwing tons of money into the business to help fuel growth. And what they had to do in the beginning was get customer feedback. And it was really just the process, because these guys, they had an agency, and that agency was sending emails and building email templates and whatnot for customers. And they're like, why don't we create a tool that does this for us? And then as they built the tool, they asked for customer feedback, what features they want, what they don't want. Brilliant path to building an incredible company that, 20 years later has had a nice little buyout.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great testimony. Thank you for pointing that out. I just saw that myself. I was like, wow, that's they really positioned themselves properly, created a really solid product, and then, as you see, it definitely paid off for them.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, it's been awesome talking to you. I've definitely learned a lot. Like I said, we kind of went a direction in this particular episode that I don't think I'd covered before, but I think it's really timely. There's a lot of people creating SaaS solutions or just creating e-commerce products in general. And, are really wondering, before they're getting too deep into it, are wondering really kind of which direction to go. And then I think, this method of tapping people, in your network and your like-minded people before getting too deep into it is definitely the best way to go, for sure.
Right on. Yep.
And lastly, before we let you go, I always like to switch gears here, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
I am a total movie nerd. Like, if there's not all movies, but there's a lot of movies. If you were to ask me the year, like, give me the title of the movie, I can hit the year or pretty close. And we're talking movies 1980 to present. Like, some people, if they give me something from 1955, I may miss the mark, but yeah, I love movies.
Gotcha. Awesome. I'm a movie buff as well. I think I'm going to test you out. Something popped into my head. I'm thinking of a movie.
What do you got? Hit me.
All right, let's see. Back to the Future 2, the second Back to the Future.
Okay. Back to the Future 1 was 85, 2 was 88, and Back to the Future 3, I believe, was 89. It released soon after.
Yeah, you're right about that. Good. Yeah, you definitely know your stuff. Sure. Yeah, I love movies and movies from that period. I'm a big fan as well. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing, Sean. It's appreciate that, and it's been awesome having you on. Lastly, before we do let you go, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and pick your brain anymore, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can simply go to Tykr.com. That's Tykr.com, or just find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot, Sean, for joining us today on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks, Arlen. This is great.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of wading through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.